President Obama sitting down for an exclusive interview with our own Bill O'Reilly today. The pair burning through a lot of topics in just a few minutes, including the IRS scandal and Benghazi. Let's bring in our political insiders now, and you can join our conversation on Twitter at Harris Faulkner, at FN Insiders, hashtag Fox Report Weekend. To my direct left, John LeBoutillier, former Republican congressman for New York. To the right, Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and Fox News contributor. And joining us via satellite from South Carolina, Pat Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor as well. Hello, gentlemen, in the gorgeous red ties.
Hey.
Good to see you all. All right, so you watched the president. Pat, I'm going to go to you first. You watched this interview. What stood out to you?
I was amazed at the disingenuousness of the president. But I thought Bill O'Reilly pressed him on things that no one has pressed him on for the media. The 157 visits by Shulman on the IRS, the Benghazi, where he really was fumbling the talking points, and health care, where he continues to be in fantasy land, Obamacare, telling us how great it is, and saying and never being able to apologize to people.
You know what? I want to start off with the IRS because there was a section that we haven't aired yet for everybody to see with the president and Bill O'Reilly. Let's cue that up and let's play that, and then I'll get your response here on set.
You're saying if no corruption there at all? No.
That's not what I'm saying. That's actually
no. But I want to know what you're saying. You're the leader of the country. You're saying no corruption?
No.
None.
No. There were some boneheaded decisions. Out of a
but
local
no
office.
Mass corruption.
Not even mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Oh. John, your head's going to pop off. You're shaking it so hard.
Well, I don't want to use the whole show on this thing because I could. Number one, even O'Reilly fell into the trap of saying, well, maybe there's some people just in Cincinnati who did something wrong. This thing goes all the way into the White House. This was the same thing they had an article of impeachment against President Nixon for, using the IRS against the political enemies of the president. In this case, Tea Party groups and pro-Israeli groups have been discriminated against. It is illegal. And I'll tell you where the blame is. The House GOP has not investigated this thing aggressively and properly. And that's why he could get off it today.
Harris, what concerned me about the whole interview was the president basically, to use a Nixonian word, stonewalled. Bottom line, he pushed back on IRS, Benghazi. Indeed, on every issue, Harris, he just said the facts weren't the facts.
You know, I want to go back to Benghazi with you, Pat Caddell. And this is coming from our national security correspondent, Catherine Herridge. And she wrote this just a moment ago after watching the president. For those interested on Benghazi, President Obama's characterization of the attacks as some systematic organized attack, not being that, appears to be in direct conflict with the recent bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee report on the findings. Your thought, Pat?
Yeah, it's to continue. It's once again, as I said, dissembling. The president, it's sophistry. The president is telling things, a story, a narrative that's not true. It is basically to serve political expediency. It's the same narrative that he used previously and that the administration did, and he just smiles and thinks he can get away with it. And today he got pressed a little bit, but I go to John's point. The failure of the Republican Party to stand up for the country and have real hearings. And the president's excuse, we've already had hearings about that, was the way he was able to fluff everything off because there haven't been any real hearings. There have been half-baked hearings.
So what is the ground that Republicans are willing to sort of, I don't want to say die on that hill, but politically so? I mean, are they willing to stick their neck out on this point
more? On Benghazi, no. That's the thing.
Why not?
Well, we've gone over this with you every week.
The public has said with the very findings that you showed me,
Pat has done polling. 180 House members have signed on for a select committee.
So why not?
I think Boehner is doing this makeover of the GOP. He wants to look more cooperative rather than obstructive. He doesn't want to tick off the administration. Pat and Doug have said to me and on here that maybe the administration has something on the Republican leadership. I don't know, but we're not getting what the public wants out of the Republicans. They will not investigate this thing.
Okay, let's talk about executive orders now. I want to just kind of jump here because we had asked people on Twitter to respond to this. Is the president overstepping his bounds? Paul Ryan today out of Wisconsin. Wow. Very strong on this point. And what is the point? I mean, is the president stepping legally outside his bounds?
I think Ryan had it wrong today. I understand that he said that the president is overstepping and that it's sort of extra constitutional behavior. That may be the case, more likely isn't.
Extra constitutional behavior?
Well, unconstitutional, I apologize. But here's what I think.
But you might be, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a legal term.
Maybe it is. But here's what I think the real point is. Bottom line, what Ryan didn't say and what the president didn't say is we need bipartisanship. We need to compromise, bargain, fix health care, deal with the jobs crisis, and work on every issue facing our country in a way that puts the American people first and not the political interests of the administration or the Republicans.
All right, from Twitter now, LP says Obama filibustered this interview. Pat? Filibuster. Yeah, well, that's a new word.
I like that. That's a new word. I like that. That's very good. I think he did. He basically, as I said, had his SWAT, his fly swatter, which was, we had hearings. We haven't had hearings. About Obamacare, he simply went through the talking points and the fictional 9 million people, 6 million of whom, by the way, are essentially on welfare under this program. Nothing about why it didn't work. Nothing about how he deceived people purposely. He just continued to do it. And back to Benghazi, the most important issue, and the IRS. There was real corruption there, and the president basically was not telling the truth.
Can I piggyback on what these two guys have said? The Republicans in the House need to study the lesson on how to run an investigation from the New Jersey Democrats, right? Who in a month have destroyed Chris Christie, right? That's number one. They need to learn how to run.
What did you say, Pat?
I just said, I'm sorry, John, maybe they should just hire those Democrats. It would be easier. Then they would learn.
But, okay, I think they don't know how to investigate. And
do they want to, John?
Well, that's the thing. This is my other point.
Why wouldn't they, though? Why is it expedient for them not to?
Well, let me tell you that Pat and Doug and I do not have a political motive here. We want the truth. What was the CIA doing in Benghazi? What did they know? Why were the talking points changed? All that stuff. That's what the public wants to know. But as political people, we would not be telling the truth, at least I wouldn't as a Republican, if in the process of this, Hillary Clinton were to be hurt for 2016, well, too bad. That should be in the calculus of the Republicans. You don't think the Democrats in New Jersey are thinking we're going to destroy Chris Christie for 2016?
Democrat will eventually take over.
That's very interesting. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about the Affordable Care Act / Obamacare when we come back. Today, the president and Bill O'Reilly talked about who should have been fired. And that was probably what I would call a term from hockey, pretty chippy. Part of the interview. We'll take a look at that and also read some more of the tweets that are coming in. This is a great one. FN Insiders, does the GOP healthcare alternative move the political dial in any direction, or are we still hopelessly stuck? Can the GOP do it? Stay close.